The French are slowly being pushed out of Canada by the British. This is only one theater the two sides are fighting in as enemies in the 7 Years' War. The British plan of attack in North America, known as Pitt's Plan, is succeeding. The fortress of Ticonderoga has just been captured, while Quebec has been under siege for over a month. The French position in the colony centers on the fortress of Quebec, which James Wolfe must capture before his naval supply lines literally freeze. Marquis de Montcalm and New France's Governor-General Marquis de Vaudreuil do not get along very well and are still bickering over details of their command arrangement. Wolfe's unsuccessful attack across the Montmorency River is still fresh in both commanders' minds as a stalemate resides. A British victory would shatter French control over New France, leaving Montreal as the sole strong point. A French victory would prevent any major British gains in New France for the rest of the year. Wolfe's main base is established just east of the Montmorency River. There are also forces posted across the St. Lawrence River at Point Levis and Ile d'Orléans. Saunders' fleet is divided in order to completely blockade the river of French ships and supplies. Montcalm's main base is established at Beauport. There are also forces posted all along the north side of the St. Lawrence River to prevent any British landing which could subsequently threaten Quebec by land. Wolfe decides to launch an amphibious assault against Montcalm's base at Beauport, using his elite stormtroopers, the Louisbourg Grenadiers, in the first wave. The landing is a fiasco, however. The first wave rushes the French positions before allowing the belated second wave to land when its transports are grounded awkwardly. The French simply abandon the redoubt and take to the cliffs, where they rain down a deadly fire on the British attackers. Luckily for Wolfe, rainfall dampens all musket powder, ending the slaughter. Wolfe recognizes the attack to be unsuccessful and orders a hasty evacuation. The evacuation cannot be hampered in any way by Montcalm, due to the damp gunpowder. This costly, abortive attack drives Wolfe into bitterness and despair, eventually contributing to incapacitating physical illness. When Wolfe recovers from his illness, the situation is much improved but critical. Montcalm detaches 800 infantry to aid the outnumbered French commander Lacorne in Montreal, and 3,000 infantry are chasing shadows further and further west of Quebec as a result of aggressive British raids on the coast. Montcalm's subordinates assure him that the 100 infantry left behind to guard Anse-du-Foulon are enough to sufficiently delay or even prevent any landing. Wolfe holds an uncharacteristic council of war which his subordinates use to convince him to abandon his various plans for a second attack on Beauport. Wolfe does so and moves his base to Point Levis and Ile d'Orléans in preparation for a landing at Anse-du-Foulon, recently scouted by his subordinates. Montcalm is relieved, thinking Wolfe is withdrawing altogether, but remains alert. During the night, Wolfe sends 1,200 infantry in a feint against Beauport, while the main force of 3,600 travels virtually undetected towards Anse-du-Foulon. Montcalm is fooled by the shouts and gunfire at Beauport as the British scale the heights, scattering the understrength sleeping French sentries. Wolfe has plenty of time to establish his force on the Plains of Abraham, west of Quebec. Montcalm, however, has no time to recall the detachment far west of Quebec, and his Beauport forces are moving slowly towards the heights. Wolfe deploys his force in two lines with a small flank guard in reserve. Montcalm deploys his force in two lines with Canadian skirmishing parties on his flanks and no reserve. Montcalm's Canadian skirmishers harass Wolfe's flanks across the forest and cliff lines, forcing the British to lie in prone position for cover. Montcalm resolves to launch a decisive frontal attack and reins in these skirmishers. The French advanced steadily, halting 130 yards from the British to fire a volley before continuing a progressively untidy advance. Wolfe's orders that no shot be fired until the French are within 40 yards are being strictly followed. When the French do wade into this range, they are struck by a rapid volley which, to them, sounds like a single cannon shot. The French are utterly defeated and stunned. Wolfe and Montcalm are both mortally wounded as the British pursue the French from the battlefield. Effective rearguard actions by Canadian skirmishers and French regulars prevent the defeat from becoming a disaster. Wolfe's subordinates also do not care to risk any sort of reverse after already winning the battle, so rather than aggressively pursuing the French, they settle in to besiege Quebec. Both sides are leaderless at this point, although Townshend and Vaudreuil assume loose command of the British and French respectively. Vaudreuil orders the Quebec garrison to hold out until the city is taken by assault or food runs short. Food runs short much more quickly than imagined. As Townshend begins to get the heavy artillery and ships of the line in position, the French surrender Quebec. This occurs just before the French relief force comes within sight of the city. In April the following year, François de Lévis led a French advance from Montreal to retake Quebec. The city was put under siege, but ended when a British fleet arrived. Meanwhile, 3 separate British columns converged on Montreal, effectively ending the war in Canada in favor of the British, ceding Canada and North America to the British.
This animation was created by Jonathan Webb and narrated by Marushka Rodrigues. For more great battles, visit www.theartofbattle.com. It's like a museum, except not boring.